I have to get your opinion on Lamont, Roach, and Tank Davis. We haven't spoken since then. A lot of people felt Roach won. Some people were happy with the draw. We all know that the knee should have been a knockdown. How did you score the fight?
I still had Roach winning, probably like 1 or 2 rounds. It was a close fight because Tank, I don't know, I think Tank just underestimated him. You know what I mean? And he was just looking for him to be himself and get a knockout. You know, I always said Tank is losing until he's not.
I have to get your opinion on Lamont, Roach, and Tank Davis. We haven't spoken since then. A lot of people felt Roach won. Some people were happy with the draw. We all know that the knee should have been a knockdown. How did you score the fight? I still had Roach winning probably like 1 or 2 rounds. Terence Crawford suggests Gervonta needs to improve to defeat Lamont Roach in the rematch. It was a close fight cause Tank I don't know. I think Tank just underestimated him, you know what I mean? And he was just looking for him to be himself and get a knockout. You know, I always said Tank is losing until he's not losing. Terence Crawford didn't hold back when he gave his thoughts on the Gervonta vs Lamont Roach rematch, boldly claiming that Roach has already shown his best. According to the undefeated multi-weight champion, Roach has hit his ceiling and won't be able to improve for the second clash. This strong take has sparked debates across the boxing world, especially given how close and controversial the first fight was. Crawford pointed out that while Davis may have underperformed, Roach delivered the performance of his life. And even that wasn't enough to secure a win. Crawford stressed that the mental aspect of the fight will be key, suggesting that Davis needs to be more aggressive and let his hands go more frequently this time around. In all his fights, when you watch him fight against Leo Santa Cruz, against Rolly, you know what I mean? Even, Ryan was doing good first couple of rounds. So, you think he relies on the power too much? I think he do. You know, he's losing until he's not losing. Now he's smart. He'll walk you into, but I just think Roach was, he was like, man, I ain't going for nothing. Let's go. Yeah. So, how do you think the rematch plays out? I think you're going to get a better Tank, but at the same time, I think the rematch between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach is now officially lined up for August 16th in Las Vegas after their first meeting on March 1st, ended in a shocking and controversial majority draw. Davis, who entered the fight as the heavy favorite with a spotless record of 30-0, including 28 knockouts, was widely expected to make easy work of Roach. However, things didn't go according to plan. Roach, the WBA junior lightweight champion, came out prepared, determined, and delivered a spirited performance that left many fans and analysts stunned. Roach done fought at his peak. I don't think he can fight no better than that. But do you believe in the phrase when people say he got his number? Yeah. Do you think that's a real thing? And could it be possible that Roach has his number? Definitely. Roach can definitely have his number, but that don't mean that Tank will come in there and fight in the same fight. But what could he do different? Because when I watch, he can let his hands go more. But I think, you know what I mean? He did. And then he was being met and countered with answers back every time. So people are not used to seeing Tank in that space cause when he lands those shots, they usually end the fight. But they weren't hurting Roach. But that's the thing. That's the mental. The most contentious moment of that fight came in the 9th round when Davis suddenly took a knee after being hit with a jab. The referee, Steve Willis, began counting, but then abruptly stopped at 3 and didn't score it as a knockdown. Had that been ruled a legitimate knockdown, Roach would likely have won the fight on points. Davis later claimed the incident occurred because hair grease got into his eyes, impairing his vision. What added further confusion was that Davis's corner was allowed to wipe his eyes with a towel during the round, a move that violates boxing regulations. Only the referee is allowed to pause the fight. And such assistance from the corner is not permitted during active rounds. When he was hitting Roach or a Roach was blocking, he had hit with like 1 or 2 shots, right? You got to start picking it up and throw multiple. Despite these controversies, Davis kept his WBA lightweight title due to the draw, and Roach missed out on becoming a two-division world champion. Roach, who holds a record of 25 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws with 10 knockouts, is currently ranked number 1 for at 130 pounds by The Ring. On the other hand, Davis remains at the top of the lightweight rankings and is considered one of the most dangerous punchers in the division. Deontay is signed and ready to go for the rematch. Correct. Dante plays so many head games it's not even funny, cause let me tell you something bro, Lamont Roach has never been this big of a fighter before. Everyone knows Lamont Roach now. So he could be reaping the benefits of just enjoying his status of having that draw with Tank, while Tank is the one with the eye of the tiger. Tank is probably in the gym training his ass off and then sign a contract like, alright, we got to fight, win. Oh, __A, let's hurry up, man. That's your ass. Sugar Ray Leonard did that to Roberto Duran. Duran was told that he had a fight in a couple weeks and he was like, dude, I'm 190 pounds in Panama. Which is why Roberto Duran was out of shape in the Nams fight and was like, no. So Tank could be over there working, sign a contract in 3 weeks, and all of a sudden Lamont Roach got to put a training camp together. The build-up to the rematch has drawn opinions from some of boxing's biggest names. Ryan Garcia, who lost to Davis 2 years ago, is firmly backing Tank to get it right this time. Garcia believes Davis underestimated Roach in the first fight, thinking he would break mentally and fold under pressure. Garcia stated that Davis simply expected an easy night and was surprised when Roach didn't back down. For the rematch, he anticipates a more focused and determined Davis, who will make the necessary adjustments to secure a convincing win. Tank Roach rematch. Who you got? I got Tank. I think he'll put on a different gear. I think he just thought it was going to be easier than it was and kind of thought that Roach would fold, and he didn't, and now he should expect a harder to fight, and I think he wins as well. Another elite boxer, Shakur Stevenson, offered a different view on the Davis vs. Roach rematch. Unlike others who see Davis dominating the second encounter, Stevenson is cautious. Having shared gym time with Roach, Stevenson knows firsthand what Roach is capable of and doesn't believe this will be an easy fight for Davis. He emphasized that Davis must be better than he was in the first fight. Just being at his best won't be enough. Stevenson's biggest concern is that Davis may lose, which would derail their own potential super fight down the line. Still, he admitted that Davis can make adjustments and possibly win if he comes into the rematch at 100%. We got the rematch announced today with him and Lamont Roach. I think they announced it today. So, what do you think, considering you were one of the handful of people to pick Lamont Roach, giving him a tough fight? I think it's dangerous for him to go back in there and fight Lamont. I think Lamont is a hell of a fighter. I can see that going left. So he better be on his A game. You think Lamont won the first fight? 154, I asked 2 questions at the same time. __A, y'all do that. Roy Jones Jr., a legendary figure in boxing, also weighed in. While he praised Roach for his unexpected performance in the first fight and even predicted Roach would surprise fans again, Jones believes Davis will enter the ring with a much different mindset this time. He noted that Davis will likely come in with more motivation, a new attitude, and a hunger to dominate. Jones is confident that Davis with the right focus will make the right changes and come out as the clear winner in August. Obviously Tank and Lemon Roach, we saw the first fight, Lemon Roach shot the world. What do you think happens in a rematch if they fight? I think he shocks the world again. But the only thing different this time is Tank will come with a different attitude, different personality, different motivation. And I think Roach will do good again. But I think Tank will be more dominant this half. David Benz, another top fighter currently holding the WBC light heavyweight title, was vocal about how the officiating in the first fight failed Roach. He argued that the referee should have counted Davis's knee in the 9th round as a knockdown, which would have handed Roach the victory. Benz criticized Davis for giving too much respect to Roach and even questioned Davis's mental state, especially since he was openly talking about retirement and seemed more focused on the financial aspect of the sport than on fighting. Benz acknowledged that Davis has always been a beast in the ring, but hinted that this version of Davis might be different, less hungry, less intense, and possibly distracted. Tank did that. So I know the God in his eye, but they should have counted it. They would have counted. It would have went to Lamont Roach. What I didn't like about Tank, he was gassing up Lamont Roach way too much. And he was already talking about like retiring. He'd be a little distracted in the fight. That wasn't the same Gervonta Davis we're really used to seeing. It just lets you know how corrupt like these governing bodies are. Bro, if that dude took a knee, did he take a knee? Hold on. Hold on real quick. Let me get this out of my eye. How is that not a point? Like I know a funny thing, bro. That's why I cut my braids off. I had braids and I had the same thing. Yeah, I went through the same A__A when I fought Andre. That burning my eyes, so I cut that off. Roach's surprise performance may not have shocked everyone, though. Clarissa Shields, a 5-weight world champion herself.